Oh, I think that's the last thing any new driver wants to happen to the new car that they just bought. Or that too. So today we're gonna be talking about the top 5 cars and the honorable mention, baby, that all, and I mean all new drivers should steer away from. They will break down on you, they will break your bank, and some of them can prove to be fatal. So my job is to reveal the worst cars a new driver could possibly imagine owning. Are you ready? Let's go. Yo, before we get started with today's video, which I know you're gonna enjoy, I just wanted to let you guys know, a little public service announcement. The Ideal shirt is about to be dropped for the first time ever, so stay tuned, keep your radar out. Be on the lookout for the first drop of the Ideal swag ever. All right, enjoy the vid. Starting off today, we have the first generation Audi TT. While yes, as a first car, the Audi TT is definitely a huge flex. No matter what, you'll look damn good sitting in it. But unfortunately, that's where all the fun ends. I mean, let's be real, guys. It's got those 4 rings, and it's an Audi, so issues are a given. One of the biggest problems with this car was the life-threatening snap oversteer issue. So basically, this means if you're going through a high-speed corner and you start to lift off the throttle, the car could easily begin to slide out of control and potentially put the driver right into a tree, or even worse, off of a cliff. Not to scare you or anything. Many TT owners became victims of this fatal flaw, and it was so bad, Audi put out a recall for suspension adjustments and even added a larger spoiler for better stability at higher speeds. However, this wasn't the only problem. Both the V6 and 4-cylinder models had premature timing chain failures. And on top of that, a ton of faulty electrical components. So as a first car, these cars just don't sound very ideal, do they? Next up, we have the Jeep Wrangler, which if you want to check out the one that we bought and completely modified, it's a really cool video, go click up here. But if you're a new driver, I highly suggest that you don't get a Jeep Wrangler as your first vehicle. Jeep Wranglers are off-road vehicles, which means that they're not going to react as well on the road. And as a new driver, your reflexes just aren't going to be that good yet. Even if you think you're good, you're not going to be as good as somebody that has been driving for a few years. And when you combine inexperience with a rig that's prone to roll over, I think you're seeing the picture I'm starting to paint. Literally, the Jeep Wrangler is one of the most dangerous vehicles for a first-time driver to drive. But if you have the chance to drive one off-road, I can't begin to tell you how much fun it is. But on the highway, it's just a complete brick. And not only do they have a high center of gravity stock, but then if you start modifying them, which you should, that brings the center of gravity even up higher, and that becomes pretty tippy, complete. It just becomes tippy. And that, unfortunately, is just a recipe for disaster for a first-time driver. Well, this list wouldn't be complete without a Mustang GT, would it? And if I were to be completely honest, a Ford Mustang, especially a GT, is a horrible choice for a first car. Here's the main problem with Ford Mustangs, especially the GTs, is they have relatively decent power. And so people are gonna wanna race you all of the time. It's been a while, but I remember being a novice driver and I kind of had a one-track mind. I'm not condoning street racing at all. You should not race. Take it to the track. That's the only place you should ever test out the capabilities of your car. And I've seen time and time again that when you start to mash the throttle, well, safety and everything else just kind of goes out the window. So what I'm getting at is it's not necessarily you, but it's the temptation that other drivers on the road will give you if you're driving a Ford Mustang GT. They're gonna wanna race. That massive V8 has enough power for experienced drivers to screw up and throw their Ford Mustang GTs into crowds. Yeah, that was a thing for a while. So instead of opting for a V8, either get a V6 and throw some stripes on it and call it a day, or just stay away from the pony in general. Have you ever heard of the term financial suicide? Yeah, well, if you looked it up in the dictionary, I bet the E60 M5 would be next to it. And here's the biggest problem with the BMW. It looks amazing. You can get it in a stick, and it comes with a 500 horsepower V10 that literally sounds like an F1 car. Even though I absolutely love the E60 M5, it is literally one of the most unreliable vehicles in the world. And to keep this super sedan running on the road costs more than a pretty penny, which usually first-time drivers just don't have. I mean, just to name a few extremely expensive items like the throttle control actuators and those rod bearings that have to be replaced. There's also a lot of little stuff that will just nickel and dime you to death. And if you don't believe me, just go on Google right now and type in E60 M5 problems. Yeah, that is a long list. If I had $1 for every time I heard an E60 M5 owner complain about how much it costs to keep the car on the road, I'd be a rich man right now and wouldn't be doing YouTube. Oh wait, no, I would be doing YouTube. I love it. Yes, it is a BMW and you're gonna look really good in it. And yes, it is a super sedan, so you'll be able to do donuts for days just like this. But please, 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 as a new driver, just say no to the E60 BMW M5. And just as bad as the E60 M5 is my dance for the next car, which is the honorable mention, baby. Okay, I threw a curveball for the honorable mention for the different folks out there. So let's talk a little bit about the Hummer H1. As a vehicle, the Hummer is probably the most unreliable piece of crap to ever float into society. However, don't get me wrong. It's fun, it's capable, it's enjoyable, and it's surprisingly exciting to drive, but only as a seasoned driver. As a new driver, it's not nearly as enjoyable. This thing has a massive frame, and visibility falls below sub-zero, making it incredibly hard to drive. And not only that, but reliability is not one of its strong suits. Straight up, you have a 50-50 shot of making it to your destination every time you turn the key. And just to give you an example of what I mean, in the military, the Hummer is referred to as the HMMWV for High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle. But on the Hummer forums, it takes on a completely different meaning, the High Mobility Money-Wasting Vehicle. So, I think it speaks for itself. But that said, if you ever get the chance to drive one of these off-road, take that person up on it, because you can do stuff like this.
Another one! Yeah. Go!
I recently just went on a trip to Omaha, Nebraska from Seattle to pick up this specific car.
Okay, so we're literally hitting traffic in this rain. Like stopping in traffic.
No.
There's water coming into the car.
No. This can't be happening.
And I have to say, it is one of the scariest cars that I have ever been in, let alone driven. I mean, the logo is named Sneaky Pete, and the car is named after a snake. Can you guess what it is? It's the Gen 1 Dodge Viper. For the price of one of these, you get 400 horsepower, a V10 that just snarls and just wants to bite you every second because, well, the car has zero nannies, zero traction control, zero airbags, zero anti-lock brakes. Heck, the thing doesn't even have a roof, windows, or door handles. But this thing will do 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, and you literally show up anywhere you go in it. I will say that there are very few cars in this world that are a better value than the Gen 1 Viper. But even for the most experienced of drivers, this thing is a purpose-built weapon and is just a lot like nothing else. And I really like it. But I would never, ever, ever recommend that a first-time driver drive one of these things. But what I would recommend are these 6 cheap stock cars that will go over 150 miles an hour. But you better do it on a track. Or check out what YouTube recommends you watch next. Oh, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. But either way, you can't lose. And as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle, baby.